It's a spooky show. Do you get scared yourself? Like, does the show scare you?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Oh, it does?
Oh, it does. I'm frightened about everything.
The success of the Netflix original show Stranger Things is mostly due to its phenomenal cast, and because of this, one might think that the kids have gotten some sort of diva status and have achieved a first-name basis with the Netflix executives, while the reality is far from that. In fact, the superstars have to follow some of the strictest rules in the industry if they want to stay in the show. Now that they have become ultra-famous, Netflix has started to watch them even closer, trying to protect their image and ensure the brand's success. Today we're looking at some of the craziest rules the Stranger Things cast must follow. You don't want to miss this list. But before that, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. First, they must lose the British accent. This rule applies mostly to Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan Byers. Did you know that this boy is actually British? If you didn't notice, then maybe he's been doing a good job following this rule that says any cast member who doesn't have a natural American accent has to lose their natural way of speaking, so that it doesn't destroy the whole fantasy setting of the show. Of all the words that he had to say in the series, do you know which word Charlie said he had the most trouble saying in an American accent? Nancy.
Nancy!
I mean, is that ironic or what? Next up, no cell phones allowed on the set. Okay, so this sounds wildly impossible for kids these days, so it's a good thing our Stranger Things cast has to be in character anyway. They must internalize in the best possible way that they were kids living in the 80s, when smartphones were still just figments of the imagination. As you could imagine, this rule exists to prevent unwanted leakages of any sort. I mean, imagine if the kids take all sorts of photos while filming and then some master hacker gains access to their cloud accounts to spoil the whole thing. What a disaster that would be! Next up, the kids all have to show up on set neatly scrubbed. When a series is set in the current era, actors are sometimes allowed to do their own makeup and arrive on scene ready to shoot. But since the time setting is critical in Stranger Things, the kids all have to be made up by professionals on set. This means they have to arrive barefaced and ready to be dolled up, but this is a relatively new rule which was only enforced because of Millie Bobby Brown. The actress who plays the crowd favorite Eleven apparently once showed up to a set covered in glitter, which was a nightmare for the costume and makeup department. They had to postpone everything scheduled for that day so Millie could shake off the glitter and get cleaned up. What a hassle that would have been. The next rule is keeping the plot under lock and key. Well, that's not to be taken literally, but cast members are perpetually reminded that they cannot speak of what they already know will happen in the series. They have to be especially careful in interviews, since interviewers are very, very good at what they do. They know the right questions to ask to get the answers they need, so the cast of Stranger Things is provided with a massive guide on what things they can talk about and which ones to absolutely keep in secrecy. Imagine if they let slip what happened at the end of the season before it was released. It would be a disaster. Number 5. No haircuts outside the set. It sounds strange, I know, but one haircut can completely derail the series' storytelling, so the Stranger Things cast are only allowed to have hair trims on set, all under the supervision of an artistic director. The rule might apply to everyone, but we know it's really mostly for Joe Carey, who plays Steve Harrington, more commonly known as the Hair. Apparently, Joe walked into his audition with an overgrown and gravity-defying haircut, which the show's creators really liked. It fit the show's theme perfectly, so he absolutely cannot change his hairstyle for as long as he plays the Hair. 6. Too much muscle is bad. While most celebrities earn their living by keeping hot bodies, the cast of Stranger Things are not allowed to bulk up. The muscle building and chiseled body era was only really just beginning, so not many people look buff in the 80s. So the kids have to remain sort of chubby or lanky. This used to be a problem for Dacre Montgomery, who plays Hardgrove. He waltzed into the show with a whipping body fresh off his role as Red Power Ranger in, well, Power Rangers. You know that he would have had to train hard for the role, so in order to look more like a Stranger Things character than a strange fighter in a red suit, Dacre had to change his diet again and gain a few pounds for that perfectly rounded look. It's crazy what some shows make their actors do, don't you think? Number 7. Know your priorities. The cast members are not prohibited from taking other acting opportunities, but they are constantly reminded to always check their filming schedule first, given how intense it is to shoot a series like Stranger Things. Most of them actually had to turn down other golden opportunities simply because the schedule cannot accommodate it. Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike Wheeler, almost quit the Netflix film so he could appear in the film It. Lucky break though, since there was a year-long delay in the production of Stranger Things, so Finn had time to do both. Just think of the cash he would have missed out on from doing a big movie blockbuster like that. Number 8. No bad-mouthing your co-stars. Now this is one rule that we wish existed in all shows ever. Apparently, the Stranger Things cast are told to keep all their grievances about their colleagues within the set. You know how kids get sometimes. They run their mouths and can say really mean things, but producers remind them every now and then to avoid saying bad comments about the people they are working with. Solid rule, especially when you are spending so much time with each other. You become like family. Next up is rule number 9, which says the cast can't access early episodes sent for screening. Did you know that producers have to send completed episodes to Netflix and other screening bodies who view it in advance of everybody to make sure it's TV and kid-friendly? Well, all of these episodes are password protected, and the cast members are prohibited from accessing them. Imagine if they had access to the footage and got way too excited and uncovered some major spoilers. Netflix is very strict and tight on nothing being leaked out. Rule number 10 is another means to prevent spoilers, and it says members of the Stranger Things cast have to watch their social media posts. This is aimed especially at the photos they share. You know what they say about pictures and how many words they tell, right? Well, one snap where the kids may be seen wearing secret revealing clothes or dried up blood makeup effects can tell a lot of things that are supposed to be under hush-hush and ruin the whole surprise. Now, rule number 11 is a sort of practical rule which helped the kids get in character. Producers require them to get really comfortable wearing vintage clothes from the 80s. Again, Stranger Things is an 80s-based film, and the kids have to convince viewers that they are living in the past. One way to get the right headspace for such a big requirement is to wear old clothes all the time. Yeah, even at home. But hey, looking at how fashionable 80s clothes look, you think these kids are complaining? Rule number 12. Think of 11 as an alien. This is a quite peculiar rule, but it's the main reason why 11 is everyone's favorite. Apparently, Millie Bobby Brown was instructed to act like E.T. Yes, the alien E.T. plus the other kids were told to interact with 11 as if they were interacting with the adorable E.T. That's why all their scenes are so precious. They remind us of another alien-human friendship that's so hard to forget. On to rule number 13, which says cast members should prepare to lose their voices a lot. If you're a big fan of the show, then you know why this rule exists. There is a lot of screaming in the show, and I'm talking about a lot. It's no longer unusual for these kids to start losing their voice, but they have to recover pretty quickly and in time for next shooting day. This requires a lot of self-care and probably swallowing nasty teas and lozenges to get the job done as best as possible. Speaking of nasty things you put in your mouth, rule number 14 is that the cast members have to grow accustomed to cold burgers and greasy fries. Disgusting! Well, it's not like producers can be expected to provide the goods with hot-off-the-grill burgers and some crispy fries for the iconic 11 scene. Maybe they could have, but for some reason they didn't. Hence, this rule. Number 15, beware of pranks. Stranger Things is a pretty dark show, but a lot of fun goes on behind the camera. Millie and Noah Schnapp are pretty notorious for playing pranks on the Duffers and even on the costume designers.
The costume designer on our show was getting married about her wedding a lot. We thought it'd be funny if we called her
and said her wedding was cancelled.
She
cried.
She did cry. We obviously apologized.
But the brothers got sweet revenge in the form of a really cool prank on Noah's mom. They pulled his mother aside, telling her the producers have to show her something. Off they go into a dark closet where a frighteningly realistic prop corpse of her son was waiting. Absolutely horrible, but it got the job done. Number 16, don't be spooked filming at the site of a real murder. As mentioned earlier, it's a pretty dark show. Remember that mall scene in the 3rd season? Apparently, it was the actual site of a grisly murder just 5 months before they started filming in there. Reports say a man who had been dead for 2 weeks was found inside a subway in that actual mall. Can you imagine how creepy it must have been for the kids? Well, I would say they're likely immune to this creepiness by now. Rule number 17, ready, set, kiss. Sure, shows like this have a pretty solid script prepared beforehand, but of course creators have full liberty to manufacture scenes out of thin air whenever they deem it necessary. So one of these unscripted scenes was the kiss between Sadie Sink and Caleb McLaughlin. So Ross Duffer was goofing around one day, telling Sadie and Caleb they're going to kiss on camera. It was a joke, of course, but apparently Sadie got so flustered that Ross decided it would be so much fun to do it anyway. Pretty interesting turn of events. Number 18, get used to fame. Too much spotlight can get to a child's head. It even messes with adults sometimes as well. So the 5 kids have to be constantly reminded to get used to fame, but to keep their feet firmly on the ground and stay humbled. We've seen former child stars completely lose their way, and it would be sad to see our main 5 go down the same dark path. So while they're told to be courteous to fans that recognize them wherever they go, the kids are still expected to lead the most normal lives they possibly can. Rule number 19, get real familiar with Stephen King's Stand By Me. Stephen King's novel deals with a group of boys who go on an adventure in the woods in pursuit of a dead body. It's sort of the perfect pretext to the Stranger Things storyline, and in fact, lines from the novel were used to audition over 1,000 kids for the 5 major characters.
Swear first. The most excellent promise you can make.
This could be the most excellent promise you can make.
So whenever our main squad struggles to get in character, all they have to do is reread King's novel to get acquainted with how the group thinks, acts, and feels after they go after menacing characters in the dark. Finally, the kids have to learn how to float in salt. We saw this cool trick in Season 1 when the group built some sort of sensory deprivation tank to find Will in the Upside Down. Remember how impressive Eleven looked when she floated? Apparently, it was shot by dumping over 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt into a kiddie pool. It must have been weird for the kids to float in a pool full of salt, but I'm kind of jealous because it seems like it would have been really fun and relaxing. And with that, we wrap up the video. Thanks for watching.